The world swam into focus, not with the gentle easing of waking in one's own bed, but with the jarring abruptness of a slammed door. One moment, the familiar weight of his thin cotton blanket and the rough texture of his straw-filled mattress were his universe. The next, the air was thick with the unfamiliar smells of exhaust fumes and spices, the ground beneath his bare feet hard and unforgiving. Towering structures of brick and concrete scraped the sky, their surfaces alive with a dizzying array of signs he couldn't decipher. The sheer volume of human voices, a constant, overwhelming murmur, pressed in on him. Huang Yanqiu, who had drifted off to sleep in the quiet solitude of his rural Chinese home, now stood bewildered and terrified in the heart of a bustling metropolis he'd never seen, his last memory the comforting darkness of his own bedroom. It was as if his life had skipped a beat, an immeasurable chasm of lost time and impossible distance now separating him from everything he knew. But to truly grasp the seismic impact of this event, we must journey back to the quiet beginnings, to the unassuming life that fate so dramatically disrupted. The year was 1956, and in a small, close-knit village nestled amidst the emerald tapestry of rice paddies in rural China, Huang Yanqiu took his first breath. His early years unfolded in the gentle rhythm of agrarian life, his days marked by the rising and setting of the sun, the changing seasons dictating the pace of his existence. He was a child of the earth, his hands learning the feel of soil and rice shoots, his ears attuned to the songs of birds and the rustling of leaves. He grew into a quiet, diligent young man, his life a predictable and comforting cycle of work, family, and community. He was a face in the crowd, a thread in the rich tapestry of village life, content in his simplicity, never seeking the extraordinary. Then, the ordinary world began to unravel. The year was 1977, a year that would forever be etched in the annals of the unexplained. July 27th dawned like any other sweltering summer day. Huang toiled in the fields under the relentless sun, his brow furrowed in concentration as he tended to the crops that sustained his family. The day wore on, each hour marked by the slow crawl of the sun across the vast expanse of the sky. As twilight painted the horizon in hues of fiery orange and soft lavender, Huang, weary from his labors, returned to the modest, unfinished dwelling he shared with his wife. The air within its brick walls still carried the faint scent of damp earth and fresh mortar. He lay down on his simple bed, the day's exertions pulling him down into the welcoming embrace of sleep. The familiar sounds of crickets chirping outside his window were the last he consciously registered. The next morning, the usual sounds of his wife preparing the morning meal were absent. A strange, unsettling stillness permeated the small house. His wife, stirring from her own slumber, reached out for him, only to find the space beside her cold and empty. The thin blanket lay undisturbed, a silent testament to his sudden absence. A cold tendril of fear snaked around her heart. Where could he have gone? He was not a man prone to aimless wanderings, especially not in the dead of night. Days crawled by, each one a heavy weight of unanswered questions and mounting anxiety. His family, their initial confusion giving way to a gnawing dread, launched a desperate search. Their worried calls echoed through the familiar paths and fields of the village, their voices hoarse with fear and exhaustion. The close-knit community, once a source of unwavering support, now buzzed with hushed whispers and worried glances. Theories, each more unsettling than the last, began to circulate: a sudden accident in the fields, a wild animal encounter, or something far more sinister, a kidnapping, a violent crime. The comforting rhythm of village life was shattered by a pervasive sense of unease. Just as the fragile threads of hope began to fray, a lifeline arrived in the form of a crisp, official telegram. The stark black ink on the pale paper seemed to vibrate with an impossible message. It was from Shanghai, a sprawling metropolis almost 900 kilometers away, a world away from their quiet village. Huang Yanqiu is here. Please come quickly. Disbelief warred with a surge of desperate hope. Shanghai? The journey to Shanghai was an arduous undertaking, a multi-day affair involving crowded trains and considerable expense, a trip undertaken only for the most pressing of reasons. How could Huang, a simple farmer who had gone to sleep in his own bed just the night before, possibly be there? The sheer impossibility of it hung heavy in the air. Yet, the official stamp on the telegram, the stark reality of the written words, could not be denied. Huang Yanqiu was, inexplicably, in Shanghai. The very fabric of their understanding of the world seemed to have ripped, defying all logic and reason. His family, a chaotic mix of terror, bewilderment, and a fragile glimmer of relief, embarked on the long and arduous journey to Shanghai. They traveled with heavy hearts and bewildered minds, the impossible message echoing in their thoughts. In the bustling, unfamiliar city, they found Huang in a state of profound shock. His eyes, usually calm and gentle, were wide with a terror that transcended mere disorientation. He trembled uncontrollably as he attempted to articulate the inexplicable. "I closed my eyes at home," he stammered, his voice barely a breath, and I woke up here." His memory was a blank slate between those 2 points, a terrifying void where the journey should have been. He had no recollection of travel, no memory of the vast distance that now separated him from his familiar world, as if a significant chunk of his existence had simply vanished. The authorities in Shanghai, faced with this outlandish account, were understandably suspicious. They subjected Huang to relentless questioning, their minds struggling to reconcile his story with the known laws of physics and the realities of travel. Was this an elaborate hoax? A case of mistaken identity, despite the official confirmation? Or was there a more sinister explanation lurking beneath the surface, perhaps involving deception or even espionage? But Huang possessed nothing that suggested duplicity. His meager belongings, his simple demeanor, his utter lack of familiarity with the bustling city, all pointed to the truth of his bewilderment. He had no money, no known connections in Shanghai, no discernible motive to fabricate such an unbelievable tale. He was simply a terrified farmer, caught in the grip of an event that defied all rational explanation. Back in his quiet village, the news of Huang's impossible journey ignited a wildfire of speculation and fear. Hushed whispers turned into fervent discussions, the mundane routines of daily life overshadowed by the extraordinary event. Theories, ranging from the fantastical to the frightening, filled the air. Had unseen forces, perhaps extraterrestrial beings, plucked him from his bed? Was he an unwitting participant in a clandestine government experiment that had gone awry? Or had the very structure of reality momentarily fractured, allowing him to slip through a tear in the space-time continuum? No one had a definitive answer, only a growing sense of unease that permeated the once peaceful community. And as utterly bizarre as this initial incident was, it proved to be merely the prelude to an even more perplexing and unsettling phenomenon. On September 8, 1977, the impossible happened again. Huang vanished from his home once more, leaving behind the same unsettling void. This time, he reappeared in Lanzhou, a city even further west, a staggering 1,200 kilometers away. What was even more baffling was the apparent speed of this second journey. It seemed as if even less time had elapsed between his disappearance and reappearance, as if the invisible force propelling him was growing stronger, more insistent, defying not only distance but also the very concept of travel time. The authorities, now beyond mere bafflement, were plunged into a state of profound bewilderment. How could one ordinary man seemingly traverse such immense distances instantaneously? The implications were staggering, challenging the very foundations of their understanding of the physical world. In Huang's village, the initial fear morphed into something akin to terror. The familiar world around them seemed less stable, the laws of nature no longer absolute. Officials, their carefully constructed world of logic and order shattered, found themselves adrift in a sea of the utterly unknown. They found Huang in Lanzhou in a state eerily similar to his condition in Shanghai, utterly disoriented, his body racked with uncontrollable sobs, his eyes reflecting a profound sense of loss and bewilderment. "Why is this happening to me?" he pleaded with the bewildered officials who questioned him, his voice raw with desperation. They had no answers, only a growing sense of dread that something profound and deeply unsettling was unfolding, something that defied all known scientific principles. Government agents, their faces grim and their movements purposeful, descended upon Huang's village like shadows. Their presence added to the already palpable tension, casting a pall of suspicion over the community. They watched Huang with an unwavering intensity, their minds racing to find a rational explanation for the irrational. Was he a highly trained spy utilizing an unknown and incredibly advanced technology? Was he a hapless victim of some malevolent supernatural force operating beyond human comprehension? Or was there a darker, more terrestrial explanation lurking beneath the surface of this increasingly bizarre mystery, something perhaps involving manipulation or deception on a grand scale? Yet, through the intense scrutiny and the endless interrogations, Huang remained consistently bewildered and afraid. He offered no elaborate tales, no attempts at explanation, only the raw, unfiltered terror of a man whose reality had become terrifyingly untethered. He was a simple farmer caught in a whirlwind of inexplicable events, a pawn in a game he didn't even know the rules of. November of 1977 brought another shocking disappearance, plunging the mystery to even greater depths. Once more, Huang vanished from the confines of his modest home, leaving behind the same unsettling void that now seemed to presage the impossible. And once again, he reappeared hundreds of kilometers away, in yet another distant city, the name of which became another baffling piece in this increasingly complex puzzle. Each incident seemed to mock the established laws of physics with increasing audacity. The distances covered were vast, the time elapsed seemingly negligible, as if he were blinking out of existence in one location and instantly materializing in another. The scientific community, initially skeptical and largely dismissive, could no longer ignore the growing body of evidence, however anecdotal it seemed. They found themselves scrambling for explanations, their established models of the universe proving woefully inadequate to account for Huang's extraordinary experiences. Theories, ranging from elaborate hoaxes perpetrated by unknown actors to previously unacknowledged psychological anomalies manifesting in a truly bizarre way, were proposed and just as quickly discarded in the face of the sheer implausibility of the documented events. The very foundations of their understanding of space, time, and consciousness seemed to be shaking. Desperate for some semblance of clarity in the face of this mounting enigma, Huang, under the intense and unwavering scrutiny of government officials and a growing number of bewildered scientists, reluctantly volunteered for a series of rigorous scientific studies. He was subjected to constant, invasive monitoring, his every movement observed and recorded, his brainwaves meticulously tracked, his physical being examined down to the cellular level. Yet, under the watchful eyes of the scientific establishment, nothing unusual ever occurred. He remained stubbornly ordinary, a healthy but deeply troubled man who exhibited no discernible physical or neurological anomalies that could account for his apparent teleportations. Frustration mounted within the scientific community. The endless streams of data yielded nothing, no flicker of explanation, no tangible clue to the mechanism behind his impossible journeys. The sophisticated instruments designed to measure and analyze the physical world remained stubbornly silent in the face of this extraordinary phenomenon. A reluctant and unsettling admission began to circulate among the researchers, whispered in hushed tones in the sterile confines of laboratories, maybe this is beyond the realm of current scientific understanding. Eventually, as mysteriously and inexplicably as they began, the teleportation simply stopped. The terrifying episode ceased, leaving behind a residue of fear and a mountain of unanswered questions. Life for Huang gradually returned to a semblance of normalcy. He married, started a family, and the extraordinary events receded into the realm of memory, becoming a bizarre and unsettling chapter in his otherwise ordinary life. But the fear, the underlying anxiety that the impossible might one day return, never truly left him. The uncertainty lingered like a persistent shadow, a constant awareness that the fragile piece he had rebuilt could be shattered at any moment by another inexplicable vanishing. Every night, as he drifted into the uncertain realm of sleep, a sliver of anxiety would surface. Would this be the night he vanished again, leaving his loved ones to grapple with the impossible? Decades later, long after the world had largely relegated the strange case of Huang Yanqiu to the dusty archives of the unexplained, a few tenacious journalists, drawn by the enduring mystery, managed to track him down. They found an older man, his face etched with the indelible lines of time and a quiet, profound weariness. The years had softened the sharp edges of his terror, replacing it with a more contemplative, almost philosophical resignation. In a quiet moment, his voice barely audible above the rustling of the wind, he admitted, I still don't know if I truly teleported, if my body moved through space in ways I cannot comprehend, or if reality itself somehow fractured around me, creating these impossible jumps. The uncertainty, the fundamental lack of understanding, remained his constant companion. Today, Huang's extraordinary story continues to baffle experts from a diverse range of fields. Quantum physicists, grappling with the strange and counterintuitive nature of reality at the subatomic level, ponder the implications for our understanding of space-time and the potential for consciousness to interact with the fabric of the universe in ways we are only beginning to glimpse. Neuroscientists explore the enigmatic relationship between the human brain and the external world, searching for any neurological anomalies or unusual states of consciousness that might offer a clue, however improbable. Paranormal investigators, drawn to cases that defy conventional scientific explanation, see Huang's experiences as compelling evidence for phenomena that lie beyond the current scope of scientific understanding. Yet, despite the intense scrutiny and the myriad of theories proposed, no single, coherent explanation has emerged that can fully account for the documented events. The mystery of Huang Yanqiu endures, a captivating and unsettling enigma that continues to push the boundaries of human knowledge and challenge the very foundations of our scientific worldview. It serves as a potent and humbling reminder of the vastness of our ignorance, the profound limitations of our current understanding of the universe and the intricate workings of consciousness. It hints at the tantalizing possibility that our reality, the world we perceive as solid and predictable, may be far more fluid, more interconnected, and more prone to inexplicable anomalies than we typically imagine. Could our own consciousness, in ways we are only beginning to explore, possess latent abilities to interact with the fundamental structure of space-time? Could reality itself be more akin to a complex and occasionally glitching computer program than the immutable and predictable system we often assume it to be? Does Huang Yanqiu's extraordinary experience point to fundamental gaps in our scientific knowledge, challenging the very bedrock of what we believe to be true about the nature of existence? The tale of Huang Yanqiu is more than just a bizarre anecdote, a curious footnote in the annals of the unexplained. It stands as a powerful testament to the enduring mysteries that lie at the edges of our understanding, a compelling reminder that even in our seemingly well-defined and technologically advanced world, the impossible can, and sometimes does, happen, leaving us to grapple with the profound implications for our understanding of ourselves and the universe we inhabit.